Joining us today is Barak Rabinowitz. Barak is a managing partner at F2 Venture Capital. Hi, Barak.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
So originally you're from Ohio.
Yes, Youngstown, Ohio.
Youngstown, Ohio.
Yes.
A lot of
long
Jews
way
there.
from home.
Yes.
I was there and left, so.
Yeah, totally. People who know you say that you have like a term that says if you see the spark, take a big bet. So coming to Israel is a major bet, especially during the second Intifada. Can you tell us a little bit about your decision-making process?
When you come from Ohio, you're kind of hungry for excitement and action and adventure, and Israel is full of those things. So it always appealed to me. And when my bank, Morgan Stanley, decided to open a branch in Israel and were looking for an analyst to join, it was a no-brainer. I signed up for the mission.
Nice. So how long have you been here?
I was here for a year of work. Then I left the bank and joined the Army. I volunteered to serve in the infantry. And then went back to the U.S. and then made Aliyah with my wife in 2011. So altogether, 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's good to have you with us.
Yes.
Did you know that what you're going to do in life is be a venture capitalist, or is it a different track or journey that took you here?
Most of the people around me were farmers.
Yes.
Nobody spoke about venture capital or startups or any of that. So never expected to be doing this job here at this time, but it is the dream job, and I'm loving every minute of both being here and doing what we do.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work you do? I heard you have, it's called the Junction, which is support you give to founders and people who start startups. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. And it's funny because every day I bring my son to GAN. He's 5.5 years old, and he's asking me, Daddy, what do you do again? Or, so you give money to people to make their dreams come true? And I said, bullseye. That's what we do here. We invest at the very beginning of a company's life, when it's typically 2 or 3 founders. And we get them started either with pre-seed money or a more meaningful seed investment. And often we support them here under our roof of F2 at the Junction, which is typically running for 6 months at a time, where we bring the founders in, establish clear milestones, provide some capital.
Yep.
And the point is, when we see a company and it's not fully baked, it's halfway there, but it's halfway there. So we don't say no, we say yes, come and sit here and we'll get there together.
Nice. So actually it has a meaning for the name of your venture capital.
Yes.
F2, it's really what you stand for.
Yeah, we spin out of Genesis Partners, which was one of the original funds, which was started when there was very little capital available for startups in Israel. And lately everyone is aware the amount of funds invested in startups in Israel have gone from below $1 billion when I got here to 10 billion last year to 18 billion so far this year.
Yeah.
In that environment, capital is a commodity, so you have to do a lot more than just provide money. So we founded F2. It's power to founders. It's F to the power of 2 to represent our ethos, which is to really give tremendous value to the founders to help them realize their dream.
So that is actually very maybe similar or maybe supportive of the kind of social action that you is involved with. Can you tell me when was the moment, or was there any defining time in your life that you started thinking about social action and giving back to the community?
Yeah, sure. When I started working at Morgan Stanley in New York in 2000, 1 year later, I got onto the subway to commute to work and heard something about an airplane and a building. And by the time I had gotten out of the train, 2 buildings were on fire, and Morgan Stanley was the biggest tenant of the World Trade Center. A few months later, Morgan Stanley collaborated with Goldman Sachs to set up a nonprofit to help the victims, specifically the victims' family, manage the compensation they were receiving from a government fund.
Yeah.
And I applied and was selected to be an analyst on the project. So it was both my first startup and my first social impact venture.
Wow.
And so that stayed with me
Indeed.
since.
Fantastic. Do you take any of the lessons learned and do you apply it to your work today in when you communicate with the I will call them social startups or any of the know-how that when you work with founders in the high-tech companies versus when you work with CEOs of NGOs?
Well, to be honest, I'm still figuring it out how to work in the nonprofit world, primarily through charitable giving.
Yes.
And that's why Keshet is such a good partner for me, because I'm now at the point in my career where I can actually start to give. But you really need a partner, because you'll soon discover there are hundreds of nonprofits out there, and it's not clear at all where to start and how to do it.
How did you become familiar with the DAF model that Keshet implements, and why did you choose Keshet out of the different options that you have?
Well, when my parents passed away, we had money that we inherited, and at that point my sister and I came across the DAF model, and we wanted to make a donation in our parents' honor. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's very common in the US but doesn't exist here in Israel. So years later, when a member of your board mentioned it to me, it immediately resonated. And then I heard about the people who are involved, which are many people from the venture capital community, right. Good people involved, many of whom also came from the US. It was a great fit.
Fantastic. Do you have any famous words you want to leave our audience with? We are at Keshet are very proud to have partners like you, and if there is any message that you want to send out.
Sure. I mean, I'll just relay an anecdote. When I first came to Israel and made, I think, my first angel investment, a company called Crossrider, it exited very quickly, 18 months later. Of course, I immediately assumed it would always be this easy, and it hasn't been.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I suddenly had a windfall, and I asked my aunt, who's like a second mom to me here, what programs are you involved with? And she happened to be involved in a program to help blind people in Israel. And I said, okay, and I made a donation of $10,000, mm-hmm. which I thought was kind of token. Actually, I thought it was a token, but the amount of gratitude I felt from they expressed and the impact that money made blew me away. And I think that people do not understand how far even a relatively modest sum can go. So I encourage everyone to experience it and make a donation to Keshet.
Thank you very much, Barak.
Sure.
I hope we'll have many more partners like yourself. We have clients, like you said, from the VC community and the high-tech community. We're very happy to serve them, and through you, make a great impact on Israeli society.
Great.
So thank
I'm
you
honored
very
to be
much.
part of it.
Thank you.